What's going on there, everyone? All right, we got a little bit of information on the Epstein case, and an interesting article from the Pluralist. Ex-inmate in Epstein's high-profile prison unit says it's impossible that he killed himself. Let's see what this guy, who's actually been locked up in the facility, has to say. A former inmate at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, a federal prison in Manhattan, said Saturday that there is no way that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself there. The man explained his reasoning in an essay for the New York Post on condition of anonymity. The newspaper described him as an ex-convict who spent several months in the 9 South Special Housing Unit for high-profile prisoners awaiting trial, like Epstein. Prison guards found Epstein, who was 66, dead in his cell on Saturday morning. The convicted sex offender was being held without bond on charges of sex trafficking girls as young as 14 and sex trafficking conspiracy, to which he pled not guilty last month, which we all know he's guilty of it. Officials said Epstein apparently hanged himself, though his cause of death has not been confirmed. Another interesting thing I'm going to end up pointing out, another story that ties into that statement. However, the former inmate said that the conditions in the Metropolitan Correctional Center's protective housing unit where Epstein was jailed would have made suicide impossible. And that's what most of us understand, is that there was no way, even if he... First they were saying he was on suicide watch, now they're saying he wasn't, which is absurd that he's not, or wasn't kept on suicide watch, considering 2 or 3 weeks before this, he attempted suicide. Now, from everything I could compile through talking to other people and my own personal experiences in the justice system, when you're on suicide watch, you are watched. Even when you come off suicide watch, you're still watched incredibly, incredibly hard. They pay attention. That's why even people on the left, the right and the left, have a thing we can agree on. This situation is sketchy as all get out. But I digress. There's no way that a man could have killed himself, he said. I've done too much time in those units, and it's an impossibility. When it comes to hanging, the ceiling is too high, the ex-convict added. There's no way for you to connect to anything. There's no light fixture, he said. There's no bars. The man also ruled out other forms of self-inflicted death. They don't give you enough in there that could successfully create an instrument of death. You want to write a letter, they give you a rubber pen. Those things are awful. It's about that big too. And maybe once a week a piece of paper. He said, nothing hard or made of metal. That's true, because the pens, like I said, the pens they give you are about that big and they're made of plastic. So it's like a plastic rubber, so they're flexible. You can't stab yourself or anybody else really with it. Conspiracy theorists also doubt Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I don't like the way they say conspiracy theories. Everyone is doubting that Epstein killed himself. This looks the optics of this are so bad that there's a lot of explaining to do, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows it. But I think they're also going to depend on us Americans' lack of interest, or, it's not necessarily lack of interest, it's the lack of focus. You got to admit, we're pretty bad at staying focused on one particular subject for the most part. With the 24-hour news cycle, this, that, and the other, we kind of let things slip away. I'm waiting to see if some big, crazy news or something breaks to try to distract people from this. That'll be very telling. That'll be very telling, but we'll see. The former inmate said that although he doubted Epstein would be given a cellmate, a detail the New York Times confirmed Sunday, there are up to 80 prisoners packed into the unit. He also said that prisoners on suicide watch are put in a straitjacket. He said, "It's my firm belief that Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. It just didn't happen." According to the Times report, though, Epstein was inexplicably taken off suicide watch 11 days before his death. Now, usually when, I'm going to stop here, usually when people are on suicide watch, it's usually for like a month, is what I'm getting. And, yeah, so just taking him off suicide watch that quickly after an attempt? Come on. And just a couple weeks after, he may have attempted to hang himself. A law enforcement official with knowledge of Epstein's detention told the Times that 2 guards were supposed to have checked on the disgraced financier every 30 minutes, but that procedure was not followed on Friday night. So let's get this straight. The guards didn't follow procedure. The cameras happened to be malfunctioning. Come on, man. Too many things are lining up to make this situation look even sketchier than it possibly could have been. They wonder why conspiracy theorists abound right now about this case. It's pretty clear. Something's not right. It's just too many things aren't adding up and aren't lining up. Very odd. Epstein's death has spurred outrage by critics who say the prison should have prevented it. The FBI said it was investigating, and Attorney General Barr said that a special inquiry would be opened into what happened. "I was appalled to learn that Jeffrey Epstein was found dead early this morning." This is a statement for Bill Barr when it happened. "Early this morning from an apparent suicide while in federal custody," Barr said. Mr. Epstein's death raises serious questions that must be answered. Yep. On both the political left and right, conspiracy theories about Epstein's death have quickly proliferated, with many pointing to his former powerful friends. Hashtag Clinton body count and hashtag Clinton crime family were trending on Twitter Saturday, along with a competing hashtag Trump body count, which, come on lefties. There's no Trump body count. There's no evidence of that at all. When we say Clinton body count, yeah, there's like a list of about 47 different people that make an actual list of the Clinton body count. Sorry about that. But from this story, I want to jump over here to, it's on the Pluralist, but it's from the Daily Caller. Excuse me. Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy, this is from today, failed to prove he killed himself. Further information needed. New York City Chief Medical Examiner Barbara Sampson said her office conducted an autopsy of financier Jeffrey Epstein's body, but has yet to officially determine his cause of death. The autopsy results were expected to be released Sunday afternoon, but Sampson said the results are pending further information, according to the Washington Post. Epstein, who was facing up to 45 years in prison on sex trafficking charges, was found unconscious Saturday morning in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. He was pronounced dead that morning after apparently hanging himself. Now, if we go back to the previous story, the guy, another inmate, former inmate, said there's no way, there's nothing to tie off to. How could he have hung himself? These are questions that are simple to answer. Don't they take photographs when something happens? That's what I'm pretty sure of. Like when an instance of death happens, they have to do a proper investigation. That would be taking photographs of the crime scene or whatever. Where are the photos? That would be a way to shut a lot of theories down. If you just, I know it's grotesque, but if you release the photos, then maybe people would understand how he did it at least. if he did it at all. It's very weird stuff. The guards who were supposed to be checking on Epstein reportedly failed to do so because both were working overtime, the president of the local union for jail staffers told Washington Post. Now, that's already wrong there. Just because they were working overtime, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't help anything. The Justice Department and the FBI are looking into his death. Attorney General William Barr announced Saturday. The FBI is also investigating the people accusers have said were connected to the disgraced multimillionaire's global sex trafficking scheme, according to the New York Times. Documents released Friday revealed Virginia Giuffre, I can't remember how to pronounce that name. An alleged victim said Epstein directed her to perform acts. I'm not going to go ahead and say that just because I don't like saying it. With a number of powerful men. The FBI identified nearly 3 dozen underage teenage girls, mostly between the ages of 13 and 16, who said they were recruited to perform sexual acts for Epstein and his friends during a 2005 investigation into Epstein's misconduct, according to the Miami Herald. Sorry for the jump there. An alarm went off for some particular reason. I don't know. Epstein had potentially faced life in prison, but struck a plea deal in 2008 and was sentenced to spend 13 months in a Florida prison on a work release program, which there's already controversy surrounding that decision in the first place. The guy should have probably have got this sentence that he was being threatened with 40-something years back then. But yeah, so very, very interesting, and it furthers the question of, did he really kill himself? You know, I think they were trying to put out the autopsy report really quickly to try to calm people's thoughts about it. But no, all this does is further the mystery of what really happened. You know, if he hung himself, it should be a cut and dry autopsy, wouldn't you think? Doesn't make much sense. If he hung himself, why would it be hard to determine his cause of death? Why would they do an autopsy on him if it was a clear suicide? So, really all this does is add a whole lot more questions, and it's going to feed the conspiracy theorist. Like all of us have become around this case. Because stuff's just not adding up. But I'd love to hear your comments, and as always, like, share, subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side.